Welcome back. As we earlier said, we will be exploring Egypt's leading role inside the region and especially in the crisis in Gaza. Very delighted to be having with us over the phone Professor Hassan Wageeh, Professor of International Relations. Good morning, Professor Wageeh.
Good morning.
So, talking about Egypt's leading role in the region and worldwide, when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to foreign diplomacy, mediation and political crisis and all that. So, talking about the crisis in Gaza, how do you assess Egypt's leading role since day one? When Egypt, the second day, almost October 8th, announced the conference and invited all Arab leaders to come to a negotiating table and to stand up to the crisis in Gaza.
Yes, of course, this role is being played by Egypt a long time ago, and especially when the Gaza situation erupted the way we have already witnessed, all of us. I think that Egypt was very quick to act, and to act positively, and to act to de-escalate, and to act to help out in getting aid and in stopping this war. This is really a very irrational war, continued for a long period of time, and it could have been escalated on a larger scale, but the role of Egypt was very there to stop any escalation. So I think that the moves were the international community was very clear with the European Union, with the American side, with the Arab brothers. I think it's very clear that the international role and the conferences held would show how the role is very decisive, important, and vital in this area.
Right. How also do you assess Egypt's role when it comes to accepting the unfair policies by the U.S.-Israeli side when it comes to the displacement, the forced displacement of the Palestinians in Gaza and the rest of the other inhumane policies there?
Of course, Egypt's stance was very, very clear and very decisive. And very compatible with the international law, and very compatible with all treaties. So I think that Egypt was very decisive to say no for displacement, no for illegal immigration. We have already decided to build an area for stability and for a milieu conducive to development. So I think that was counter to that. So Egypt was very clear in putting a red line when it comes to displacement, especially that some voices mentioned that immigration could be or displacement could be to Sinai. This is aggression against Egyptian sovereignty. And Egypt is very decisive to protect its sovereignty, protect its borders, and Egypt is a very strong country because there is a cementing relationship between the army and the people and the leadership. And that was very clear and crystallized, and everybody in the world have already witnessed how this is happening. So I think that was very respectable stance and very lawful, and taking the side of international law, taking the side of continuous development. Okay.
Right. So, moving on to the crisis in Sudan. Also, that particular part of the world, the Arab world, is also inflamed. Excuse me, and Egypt have been playing more than a leading role when it comes to the crisis in Sudan.
Yes, of course, nobody, no fair-minded person in the world would agree that what's happening in Sudan could be left without intervention, good intervention for stability, for helping the Sudanese brother to establish their economy, to establish their country, to stop this, I'm sorry to say, this fight discourse, these disputes over there, which is very unfavorable for everyone, and it also shows something very terrible, the intervention of foreign powers in Sudan. And Egypt is very keen, as I've said, to keep the borders, to keep the sovereignty of each country. And I hope that the situation in Sudan would be far better than that, inshallah.
Also, hosting our brothers in Sudan also for a long time in Egypt to come and study in universities and offering them jobs and offering them residence and all that was very generous on Egypt's part.
Yeah, this is a very important point, and thank you for this question.
Especially when we look like policies in like the current U.S. administration becoming affecting and inflicting very harsh measures over immigration and allowing other nationalities to have residence inside the United States. I mean, comparing that with countries like the U.S. and other European countries, Egypt have been extending its hands to stranded people in Sudan, in some countries in Africa, in Libya, in Iraq, and all that.
Yes, of course. You made a very important elaborate statement, comparative politics oriented now, which is very good. Thank you for doing that. This would take me also to the historical roots of Egypt. Egypt is a cosmopolitan Egypt. You know, we had minorities a long time ago from Greek, from Cyprus, from Europe, from Italy. Yes, we had this. So Egypt is a hub for people who are really in trouble, or people who really resort or take Egypt as a safe haven. Egypt all the time opened its door for that. So that is a very historical trend, by the way. So if you can see, I'm not talking about only Sudanese. Yes, Sudanese, Libyan, Iraqi, Yemenis. We have like almost like 12 or from 12 to 15, according to certain statistics, 12 to 15 million immigrants who really living in Egypt, using all the utilities like Egyptians. They are not put in a camp like in some other countries, with countries who really blackmail through this kind of gathering through these camps. No, Egypt is opening its arms for in a very humanitarian way, and the people who came here really recognize that. I hope that the entire world will look at that and see this very important feature of Egypt that really combines in a geopolitical and in a geo-humanistic way the East and the West.
How do you assess the Egyptian policies with Libya, and especially the stances that Egypt took in most of the crises that took place in the brotherly Libyan country?
Yes, of course, as we have done with helping out for the Sudanese situation. Egypt also share a border with Libya, and it's a very neighboring and very brotherly country. And but also there were chaos, there were interventions. Egypt was very strong and very having a very decisive stance regarding trying to put an end to the strife and disputes over Libya. Extended its hand also, but also Egypt was very decisive in its stance to prevent any chaotic situation or any aggression on its interests and borders when it comes to the Libyan border. And also there are many Libyans who are living with us in Egypt here.
Right. When we talk about the brotherly countries in the African continent, I mean African countries like in the south, and especially ever since Egypt have attained the African Union chairmanship, Egypt have been extending its hands to brotherly nations in Africa. And even after we finished our term in the African Union, we have been launching health initiatives. The same things that were implicated in Cairo were taken in African countries, like 100 million lives, initiative were launched in Africa. Other health initiatives concerning the health of women and their children. Offering job opportunities to African youth and training them, vocational training and other types of programs to enable them for practical life, and also hosting them as students and all that. The African file, especially the foreign diplomacy with African country, is very rich when it comes to the Egyptian administration, especially ever since President Abdel Fattah Sisi have stepped into office. The policy have changed 180 degrees. So how do you describe the leading role Egypt is playing with brotherly African nations?
Yes, let us continue what we were saying about the cosmopolitan nature of Egypt. Egypt could be described as an Arab country, Mediterranean country, Muslim country, and African country. So, African country. Egypt knows very well that its depth is Africa. Egypt knows very well it is in the north of Africa, but it has a lot of good relationship with all the countries in the continent. And I think that since the president assumed power, he really gave a great deal of attention and importance for strategic relationship with many African countries, and with a slogan that we have to de-escalate any conflict. We have to continue all peaceful efforts, exhaust all peaceful avenues conducive to development and conducive to renaissance in Africa. Africa could feed the entire world. Africa has a lot of resources. This is untapped resources, and also one of the things is that human resources in Africa also needs to be developed. Egypt also extended the hand of that regarding these issues, and I think that yes, we are Africans as we are Mediterranean, as we are Muslim country, as we are Arab country.
Right. Also, looking over to Lebanon, a country like a brotherly country like Lebanon. Lebanon have been strained for a long time when it comes to economical crisis sometimes, and of course the skirmishes between Lebanon and Israel, and the hostile acts from time to time over Lebanon, and the latest crisis that were affected after the Gaza crisis, and assassinating a Hezbollah leader and all this. How do you assess the Egyptian role during that very critical time?
You know, the Egyptian role is very clear for keeping the security of each country, and for a very important point, and maybe the 30th of June will come and we will talk about the role of militias. Egypt is against the role of militias. Egypt against the role of two competing powers or three powers in a given country, because this is weaken the country, weaken any country. And when it comes to weakening the countries, it makes intervention from outside far more easier and far more as a threat. So I think it makes the country weak. Egypt also talked about the importance of getting the Palestinian factions reunited and to be one thing. In Lebanon, Lebanon should have the sovereignty of the state. The Lebanese army should be there as a sole move actor in the country, not with militias here and there taking decisions and taking counter decisions. I think this is, from my own point of view, a very chaotic situation, created weakness in any country. So Egypt stance is very clear in that, and I think that Egyptians themselves crystallized that in June 30th, when we saw that the brothers, the Muslim Brotherhood, tried to make militias, tried to make parallel powers. We rejected that altogether, and hopefully that was a great success for our state.
Right. So Egypt was not only interested in attaining peaceful and solid bonds with brotherly nations in Africa and the Arab world, but also in the Islamic world, like the historical visits of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Azerbaijan and to other countries, and that was monitored by international community, extending our hands to those brotherly Islamic countries and forming, consolidating our bonds on several fronts and spheres and all this. How do you assess those also foreign relations with those countries?
Yeah, I think this is very important, another important diplomatic front. Egypt is very keen to have this kind of unity between Arab Islamic countries, and I think that Al-Azhar role is very clear. We have like more than tens of thousands of students from Islamic countries and from all other parts of the world in one university, which is Al-Azhar University. Is very indicative of the role Egypt is keen to keep the unity as much as we can going and developing. So I think that that's important, and especially, you know, we have to do that in the rise in Europe, the United States, with what was called Islamophobia. So I think the Islamic countries must play an important and active and positive role to cancel out the deep fake campaigns that really try to impact and try to frame the Islamic world in an unfavorable frame in the world wide. And I hope this is a very legitimate effort to be exerted in the right direction to topple these negative frames which are based on aggressive and antagonizing campaigns.
Right. On this note, of course, Professor Hassan Wageeh, Professor of International Relations, would like to thank you, sir, for talking to us on the Breakfast Show. And we're going to go to a short break and come to continue the show, so stay with us.